Prior to obtaining my licenses, I, along with my family, owned and operated a ladies' apparel manufacturing company, where we employed over 500 people in design and production for distribution throughout the United States. Of course, the most important job is that of being a husband and a father. My family and I do more than just build houses. We are community builders. My family has given decades of services to our town. My Uncle Anthony Scardino served as both mayor and state senator. My sister Rosemary served as on the Board of Education. Now I feel it's my turn to serve our town and bring it to the 21st century.
Okay. Laura, first question. According to the 2016 municipal budget, the Township of Lyndhurst and School District have a combined $37.8 million in net debt. Neighboring Rutherford has $16.4 million. Hackensack has $49.1 million. Wallington has $10.9 million. And East Rutherford has $45.2 million in debt. Do you support the township level of debt? Do you support more bonding? And if so, for what? Would you support cutting programs or within departments to keep expenses and debt down? And if so, where?
I would definitely be in support of anything that's going to help to reduce the debt in all municipalities, because of course debt is a burden to everyone. Okay, it's a burden to families, it's a burden to the towns, it's a burden to the programs that people want to run. I personally wouldn't make those decisions on my own. I think that there needs to be transparency in governments. I think that this debt needs to be looked at line by line to see where the budget is not being utilized responsibly. And then you can go to your other commissioners, make decisions, bring it to the townspeople, bring it to concerned citizens, and try to decide which programs are the programs that really need to be effectively run better, okay, and where cuts need to be made. I don't think any one person should make that decision. I think it should be a group effort, and this town, I think, has done a great job in providing a lot of programs to the seniors and to veterans, disabled, and I think that the programs really need to be evaluated. I think it's more to evaluate where the budget is not being utilized properly or responsibly. Certainly, there's always got to be cuts along the line, but I think that those things need to be evaluated one at a time. I don't think you can just make a blanket statement, this needs to be cut, that needs to be cut. Things need to be looked at thoughtfully, introspectively, and people need to be responsible and talk to the citizens of the town to get what the popular vote would be for that.
Certainly nobody likes debt, but unfortunately we live in a town that's fairly old, which means our infrastructure is old. We spent a lot of money improving on that infrastructure. Years ago we put in new water and sewer lines. That doesn't come cheaply. Unfortunately, sometimes we have to spend money. We might not want to spend money, but we have no choice but to do that. We made improvements to our schools. We're in the process now of building a brand new school. We've upgraded our town hall park. It was a park that could be used by seniors, it could be used by people with disabilities. We made it into a place where people love to come. Unfortunately, we had to spend money in doing that. So again, we're going to take a look at areas that we can cut back, but unfortunately, remember that we have to take care of this township. We have to spend money on this township as much as we might not want to do. So, thank you.
So there's good debt and there's bad debt. I think when you're looking at good debt, you have something to show for it. Many of you own a home. Many of you went out and incurred debt. But you have something to show for it. So when you look at the numbers that you stated there, in there is some bad debt. Years ago, this town was faced with something called NCAP. And shortly before I took office, we borrowed $20 million for what I'll call bad debt. We don't have an asset to show for that. So we've had to rebound from that and And thank God, by having a good 4 years, this township has been able to pay some of that $20 million back. In fact, we're down to $11 million. So when we're looking at numbers, as was stated, we got to look at what areas does this town need to operate. For instance, there are times that we need to replace vehicles. There's times that we need to look at the safety of the people who live in this town. There's 2 fire engines that are on order. Our fire engines are from 1991. I myself went to 4 different towns and looked at the age and got underneath it, and I don't really know that much about mechanics, but I did get underneath and look at the engines, and I have to tell you something. It's time. 1991 is a long time. So as was stated, we can't sacrifice the safety of our people. So in looking at this, when we look at things as the new school, the refurbishing of schools that are over 100 years old, do we really have a choice? Thank you.
Like Commissioner Duty just said, we inherited $20 million of income. I would estimate that about 20% or $15 million in taxes paid by these properties. Please keep in mind, an NCAP, 350 acres, pays nothing but cause the insolvency of the township, causing the township to incur $20.7 million in debt, which is a tax debt profile shows we are still paying. Also, Lyndhurst was proposed a building distribution center warehouses on these properties. Lyndhurst showed the first concept plan to the mayor and commissioners January 2017. We lost so many rateables down the Meadowlands. We used to have Rolls Royce, Prudential, all big buildings. When you lose a tenant as a homeowner, you can appeal, you go nowhere. They appeal, our taxes go up. We have to pay for those rateables. Thank you.
I would work with the other commissioners and mayor to try to reduce our debt. However, sometimes it's not possible. But we can work to get the most out of our tax dollars while ensuring the safety of our community. Also to keep our businesses in town so we can get the tax dollars from them. Sometimes that infringes on our citizens when we don't have the businesses. So we will work forward to doing that.
I know Commissioner Dudek had mentioned good debt and bad debt. Some of the debt that you're speaking of is going to be considered an investment in this town, an investment in the future of Lyndhurst. The brand new school, the junior high school, for example, that's something that's going to be paying dividends for years to come. Commissioner Dudek also mentioned the purchase of 2 new fire trucks, outdated fire trucks that our guys needed in order to protect you and me and my families. Those are things that we cannot afford to do without. Sometimes we do need to go out and bond money in order to pay for them. Commissioner Dudek's finance background has raised our rating, so we are borrowing money at a much lesser rate. So that's where I'm going to do that. Thank you.
The township has agreed on a large amount of debt in the last year, but in a nearly 3-1 vote, parents chose that higher debt, chose to take higher debt and move forward in order to give their children a better school system. We need to improve our schools. The educational infrastructure in this town has long outlived its worth. And we need to get the new junior high school and move that forward and fix all the rest of our schools, including this high school. As Commissioner Dudek and Commissioner Monticello said, we have good debt, which is lower interest rates, and considered an investment in the future. And then we have bad debt with high interest rates, and basically a waste of your money. We don't want to waste your money. We want to spend it wisely. NCAP was the worst of all kinds of these debts. We get nothing for $20 million. The only silver lining there is that when that rolls off of our tax books, we'll be able to use that money towards paying for the new school and the improvements in the existing schools. With that said, if we review our expenditures and determine how to become more efficient and look for help from state and federal legislatures and try to get their help and grant money replace streets, pave them, and any other additional sewer lines that may break in the future. Thank you.
Not that versed on the budget we have here. I've read the budget online that the town put in. I know we've been $20 million for NCAP, which was 16, 20 years ago, whatever it started. But there's other areas we could share it. We talked about shared service. My feeling is that if the township pays for something for the Board of Ed, it wasn't shared service, we're still gonna pay for it. We're talking about buying 2 new fire engines, and I was a fireman for 30 years, and believe me, we need them. When I was the chief of the fire department, was the last time the new fire truck came in. Very nice fire truck, stayed in the yard at the time, and it went down. There's areas we could save in though with the fire department. I think the one truck we're buying is a pumper with a ladder on it, and we already have a ladder truck. And we have community services we could be doing with other towns to save money. My idea of shared service, we have 3, North Arlington, Lyndhurst, and Rutherford, 3 towns, 3 different ladder trucks. Between the 3 towns, there's 9 pumpers. We could share a service in that. We could get together and look at the budget as a group, not just as an individual for each other's departments, but as a group.
Okay, so as Teddy and John mentioned, there's good debt and bad debt. So, you know, as long as you're borrowing for something that has a long-term good use, like when we buy a home or a car, that's spending money wisely. Bad debt would be like credit cards to pay for our daily bills, which eventually crashes, and that to me is overspending. And that's all I have to say.
I don't know if the question got a little changed as it went along, but I'll try my best because I think that it might off of track a little bit. Commissioners are responsible for putting together a budget. Each department has a certain amount of money that they need to run their department. Now, they should be staying within that total amount. Bonding should, to me, be only in cases of an emergency or something that really needs to be done. Because unless, well, the school was different, but unless you have budgeted for it, you're doing additional money in bonding and raising the taxes. Lyndhurst's debt at this point could be between, right now, it's like $45, $80 million in debt. So each department then has created their own little bonding because they want to do certain things, like the pool, the park, or whatever. But you gotta think, is it necessary for the town? Do you want to raise taxes more? Do you want to do this? Do the people want it? And some of it maybe should go back to the people to decide what we should be bonding. But to me, I think bonding should be on an emergency basis because you should be able to stay into your budget and you should be able to afford and not raise taxes.
Lyndhurst has a significant amount of land in the Meadowlands district where the New Jersey Sports and Exposition Authority retains the authority to issue zoning variances. High-density residential development in the Meadowlands has caused an enrollment increase at township schools and stress on municipal services such as police, sewer, and fire. What can Lyndhurst do to keep up with the demands posed by the Meadowlands development, and what can the township do to regain its municipal authority? Commissioner?
That's a great question. We've been talking about that as a township now for the last 15 to 20 years, about what Lyndhurst can do to control what's going on down in the meadows. Unfortunately, we don't have the authority to do anything right now. Okay, so the only thing that we can do is talk to our state legislatures and see if we can get some help to stop this insanity. because you're 100% right. Our schools are overcrowded. Okay, the population coming from down in the meadows is much greater than anticipated. It certainly has put a burden on our police department and fire department. I've heard firemen tell me that they're down there almost every day of the week. Every time we send a truck down there, it costs the township money, and we get absolutely not one penny back in return. So, as a township, we need to take this very seriously, talk to our state legislatures, and see what can be done to stop the insanity.
Certainly, this has become a major crisis for this town. We've been dictated as to what would be built there. We have an area that does not generate tax dollars or rateables to this township. And we have the state coming out with something called affordable housing. And although I'm going to try not to get too technical, what affordable housing is that if we continue to build out there, every time you have 5 buildings going up or 5 residences going up, one of them will have to be affordable housing. In fact, as we're speaking now, we're fighting with the state and with the county to determine that land is not buildable. You can't go and put residences in areas that, when I was a kid, it was called the dumpster swamps. Okay? If you go too far out there, it's not safe for the people who would be having residents out there. You may be able to put light warehousing, but you're not going to be able to continue to put people out there. If you do that, and if we cannot prove to the state that is not buildable, we face many different issues. If you go from where the rec center is down to Page Avenue, we are in compliance with the amount of affordable housing we have to have here. But if you pick up this additional land, and you clearly say that that's going to be affordable housing, we already start over 1,000, close to 1,200 units behind of just affordable housing. Not additional housing, affordable housing that we'd be faced with. So this is a big crisis for this town. Thank you.
For you that don't know, in the Meadowlands, we have 1 unit on 120 Chubb that's going up 218 units. Another one at 240 Chubb Avenue, 192 units. Vermella, 358 units. We have to stop the overdevelopment down there. The children in the new housing in this area are putting a strain on our schools, on the children, the facilities down there. They want to build. We have to stop it. We met with NJSCA, and the bills are creating a variable where we cannot plan for. I wish our township had more control over the planning and zoning of the Meadowlands area. Again, the bottom line is to stop the overdevelopment. We have no room for the children. We're building new schools, and I think we're still going to be overcrowded. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree with Mayor Giangiarusso and Commissioner DiMaggio, also, and Commissioner Duda. And also, we can stick together and fight with our legislatures and keep going and keep asking and on until we get results and the help we need to get the funds that are deserved to us from all of the development. Thank you.
Residential in the Meadowlands is obviously a hot topic. Lyndhurst New View is opposed to any new additional residential development. But what's important to realize is that there are over 1,000 new units that are in the Meadowlands. And it's important that we do not forget them. They still are part of our community. They do not have sidewalks. They do not have street lighting. They do not have rec facilities. They are the response and calls to our fire department, our police department, and our emergency squad have been higher than ever. It's clearly impacting our town, okay? And there has been something that we could have done. For 6 years, the mayor has never attended any of the municipal meetings at the Meadowlands and put on record that we would be severely impacted by the residential development.
Never once have we been protected down there. That's a fact. It's never been put on record. There has been opportunity to talk about it. There has been opportunity to negotiate. That has not been done. Thank you.
Our Meadowlands area east of Orient Way was never imagined for residential housing. The current sewer system infrastructure was never built for the burden. Quick look around that area and you immediately see wide streets, roads built for heavy tractor trailer traffic, limited egress and ingress points, no sidewalks, no recreational areas, not even a lot of trees. The area burdens our public safety professionals, our schools, and worst of all, we have over 100 students that are coming out of that area. We could have had some control, but the mayor didn't fail to go to the mayor's meetings. In 2015, Commissioner Montill and I did go to the NJSEA, and we did argue and fight against and testify against housing. We lost. They built the housing, but they did give us some concessions. They built sidewalks, and they promised to put some trees, they promised to put some generators, and we got a bus for our students to get from down the meadows up to our schools. The fact that the area wasn't originally intended for residential doesn't mean we forget our residents that are down there. Actually, quite the contrary. We have to beautify the area, we have to make it safe, put in some trees, and provide environmentally friendly roadway and safety enhancements. I'd like to see some building switch to light warehousing. And some of the people that are down there, maybe they want a restaurant or an entertainment or retail, and we should probably work on getting that for them. Thank you.
You know, the Meadowlands has been a hot topic since the late and great Pete Russo, who was our commissioner, went down there and fought for the meadows. He said, if we give up control, this will happen. And I'm going to tell you that was a long time ago. And he was right then, and he'd be right now if he was here. When I was a child, we used to hunt down the meadows. Right after high school, we used to sit down there and hunt pheasants and rabbits. Then it started getting developed. And everybody was happy when it first started getting developed because it was all office buildings. Nobody was going to school here. There was hotels. But now all of a sudden, it's being taken over. And they're right. We need our legislators to stop. Or we're going to have to go to these contractors and to the state and to the sports authority and tell them, listen, if you're putting these residents out here, we need funding for our schools, for our police, for our fire department. We have to get in some other way. I kept talking in lieu of taxes. We had so many buildings in lieu of taxes. Well, we're paying the Meadowlands for these buildings to be out there. It's time we got our money and have the contractors pay their part and have the state, the sports authority pay theirs. You can see what they did in East Rutherford with a building that's been sitting out there vacant for X amount of years.
Growing up in Lyndhurst, it was the Meadowlands were to be our future to growth and prosperity. Years of mixed plans, mishmash of construction, but finally no more tax sharing, we keep what we collect. Residential mixed with commercial, no consideration for safety, tractor trailers, and children, bad mix. No recreation, needs for parks, safe walk paths, bike paths, streetscapes, make it look nice. Meadowlands residents should be buying our uplands housing when we wish to sell, not to look to escape Lyndhurst. Above all, no more housing. Keep up the negotiations for warehouse use on the former NCAP property, and we'll have nice, safe, rateable to support our tax base.
John happened to take a lot of the words that I was going to say, because I agree with you, Mr. Montella, on everything you talked about, the housing. But what gets me is that I go to all the town meetings, and not once did the mayor ever bring up that there was gonna be like over 4,000 houses down there. And why he didn't do anything to get the community together to try to stop this, because bringing more housing in, you're bringing more kids in. If there'll have to be bus, there's so many infrastructure things, there's so many different things that would happen, but the mayor did nothing to inform, even on his website, to inform the people, hey, we really will have to get together and maybe stop this housing, because putting housing down there is going to destroy this town. And I agree with Mr. Monticello, there shouldn't be housing down there. About 4 or 5 years ago, sitting with Mr. Subiria at one of the meetings down in HMDC, it was only supposed to be recreation, all of a sudden housing. Just like Vermella was only supposed to be like 3 or 4 buildings, and now it's up to 5 buildings, because what they do when people are not paying attention, they go and amend all the original plans, and nobody knows about it, because you don't have to be notified once the plans are made. So you got 2,000 houses down there, we're getting 2 more thousand. But yet nothing was done to stop it. Not even a committee formed or something to go to the legislators, to do something. I mean, I know you say it's not our jurisdiction, well then NCAP wasn't our jurisdiction either. So the problem is that everybody has to form together and do something. Let's just sit back and let it go.